One by one they have come. One by one I have gazed upon their faces. I have read the record. I have perceived the intent. I have given my love. One by one they are raised, and yet the law calleth forth torrents and multitudes. The sweetness, the gentle simplicity of the pure God design is so captivated by the strands of the human personality that it is as though they were bound hand and feet, caught in a mesh of their own weaving from which they cannot extricate themselves. And yet, as a mighty welding torch and acetylene torch will cut through steel, so the power of love, the blue flame power of the holy will of God, poureth forth its radiance and severs strand by strand the fetters of human making, until at last the soul goeth free as a bird from a cage, and soareth into the heavens to reunion, to initiation, to understanding, to bliss. In the stillness of the holy radiance there poureth forth God's love. In the stillness of that love, all form vanishes in a burst of light. I am come. I am come to represent the mighty hierarchy conferring upon those who would serve our cause a more than ordinary honor, the honor of the ages, anchoring them in the cleft of the rock of ages, extending over them our white mantle, consecrating them to the pure edict of light. Understanding floweth forth as a sharp sword, a cutting sword, a piercing sword. It severeth, as it were, the unclean from the clean, and divideth clearly the light from the darkness. Initiation conferreth upon all the mantle of the Christ and the holy portion that is every man's allotment of the Holy Spirit. Be thou still. Be thou at peace. Be thou aware of thy God. It is not in mere words, the release of holy sound, but it is in the release of holy substance that men are made clean by the clean flame of devotion, the clean flame that purifieth and sweepeth away all that is not clear and radiant and pure and lovely, until that which remaineth is God, is good, the basic Christ-child simplicity, the holiness of St. Francis, the anointed Christ consciousness manifested by Jesus, the world teachers that stand by my side to serve. These are tested men of God, men of cosmic honor, men of cosmic virtue. These came long ago and were presented to me, and as I gazed at their young faces, I knew then that I beheld an avatar. And I will tell you something about those who have the office which I hold. Those who have the office which I hold are as thrilled with a manifestation of the supernal radiance of the elect as God would have us be. Our delight is in these tiny things, to gaze upon a face and to know that here is a victor, to initiate such a one into the mysteries of heaven, to place upon such shoulders the clean white linen, the arrayment of our office. This is an honor conferred upon us, and we are indeed grateful for the manifest opportunity of doing this for all who will come as a sweet child to receive the olive branch of peace and the holy dove descending upon their consciousness. There was a cry that went forth in the past, but it was negative. It pertained to human degradation. Therefore I shall not use it this day, even though it is recorded and written, but instead I shall utter the message of its antithesis, of its opposite, of its light, of its manifestation as God intended. Do you remember the shepherd king David? Do you remember the psalms that flowed forth from his heart? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, And so the Psalms of David have brought a sweet music to the souls of men, and it has come to pass that the release of his energy has mounted to do honor to the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. The tensions of the world are lessened, far lessened, by holding the focus upon such holy words, by cherishing the outpouring of his wondrous heart. And so I pay tribute today to those lonely souls, as Tabor did this night last past, and call to your attention that these are not lonely souls in reality, but are souls of divine union who have passed through the tests, the trying, crucible tests of life, and have attained a manifest victory which cannot be denied by man, nor by their contemporaries, nor by their own family or their friends. I would call to your attention today the statement that was made by beloved Jesus pertaining to friendship, stating that whosoever doeth the will of God was his friend, and in a sense his brother and mother and endeared one. Today, blessed ones, as you go forth to keep the flame of your divinity, you must recognize that some of you are as untried knights by comparison, and some of you are squires in the learning process, desiring to stand as the knights of the table round, but remaining yet completely tested and tried. Were you to come to me today where I am, for I am in the cave of light today, in Chananda's retreat, I tell you that a very special dispensation could be given, for we have summoned a tremendous radiance, and this radiance is to be released tomorrow in accordance with the divine intent, with the breaking of the dawn, and is intended to accelerate its tempo until at the hour of 12 it shall reach its zenith in the time zone where you are. This has been coincided by the Darjeeling and Indian Council in order to confer upon the students assembled here the rising crest of that holy momentum, releasing it to the heart of America and dispensing it for all nations to drink of the cup of its radiance. Of course, if you were here today and could bathe in the accumulated radiance, I am certain you realize that it would indeed strip from your being layers upon layers of densified substance, until by its power and pressure you would find yourselves so much closer to your precious goal. I regret that I could not open my arms and form a pathway of light over which you all might walk to come here today to partake of this momentum. But I think by telling you of it that some compensation shall be given, for in your thoughts, your mental body and your emotional body can in a sense be projected to us here and receive the mighty flame passing it through your mental body, through your emotional body, to still the feelings of frustration and distress there, to wipe away from your being the cause and the effect and the record of memory that is sordid and destructive, and by divine discrimination to feel the anointing that was placed upon David's head and upon the head of Jesus and upon the head of all avatars who have ever come to our retreat and who have ever knelt before me as the hierarch that I am. O precious one, my love for you is so great this day that it is as though I would give another 1,000,000 years of service to this blessed planet if I felt that by so doing I could free this generation. And yet the karmic board will not permit it, the great law will not allow it, and so we are all tempered, you see, in our moments of high inspiration by the greater wisdom flame of God, which demands the best course for all. Therefore, as I speak to you now, I advocate that in the stilling of your consciousness you cognize the meaning of quietness and contemplation and purity. Visualize now with me in a special manner that you may have conferred upon you a mighty blessing. Before each one of you, please remain seated. Before each one of you, visualize a cube 1 foot square. This cube is white and resembleth alabaster. At this moment it is like unto a bulb through which a current is not passing. We will, in this experience, cause it to glow, but not yet. We must first tell you of what significance this cube is. The cube is 4 square. The cube is indicative of the New Jerusalem. The cube is indicative of the holy city, celestial, that descended from God out of heaven. The cube is significant of the white stone and the new name that is given to all who are able to receive it. The cube represents your potential entree into that holy city of God, builded upon the prophets and teachers and avatars of all ages, builded upon the lives of the saints, builded upon the cosmic unity of the four-square city, builded upon the initiatic system of the great white brotherhood. This great cube of light represents also then your own precious contact with the great white brotherhood. This cube is symbolic and factual. Factual in the sense that in God's eyes and by His power He may make the largest offering of any relative size according to His desire. And therefore this cube appearing before you in space which you hold surrounded by your hands is in essence as big as God would choose to make the New Jerusalem, a place of limitless light and consciousness and purity, a place where all of the saints of the universe and of all universes can abide. Could it then be small? Could it then be too large? It is exactly the correct size. And as you recognize that this is your portion, your stone in the eternal temple, representative of the crystal clear perfection of your identity, you will realize that where it's surrounded now with mud and slime and human refuse, it would be unfit to place in the temple all bright, all light, all pure, all holy. And therefore this temple must of necessity be held in spiritual dimensions, for it cannot yet be trusted to the flesh. Ere the cock crow, thou shalt deny me twice. Know ye not then that the aspirations of men and their intents are so frequently cast aside in desperate moments? Individuals have actually forsaken this fraternity without realizing the potential that is within it. This is most unfortunate for themselves and for us too, for had they remained, they would have had conferred upon them the eternal promises in a greater measure and a greater outpouring. And yet this shall not deter the faithful, for in all ages the lonely ones have walked the pathway of initiation. They have understood the meaning of dedication and selfless service. They have understood that they alone must pass through the gate of initiation, that no one upon earth could do this for them, that no other person could substitute. Mothers have knelt at my feet and pled that they might pass through the most horrible of tests in order that their sons might be given a higher place in the kingdom. But the great law would not permit it, and I have turned them away, one and all. All must come alone to this place where they recognize that in their hands they hold their own cosmic destiny, that this white stone that now is before you is a symbol of that potential which lies within you. El Moria, with all of his mighty love and light, which blazes forth through me now also, because I have mentioned his name, is aware of the fact that he could not with all his love push you through and fit you into that temple perfect and beautiful. Only your own God-given free will, continually driven against all the forces of opposition, that holds a perfect balance, the key to your own soul's salvation. In your patience possess ye your souls, is the power that will enable you to hold the God design and God direction that will make it possible for you to enter into the temple that is indeed more within your own hands than in the hands of God. For he has given it to you. Do you see, beloved ones? It has always been yours. It was the enriching cosmic design which God entrusted to you in the beginning, which has always been there and has never been taken from you, except that it was raised into a higher pattern, not only in your higher mental body, but in the very center of the great God flame within your own individualized I am presence, and it has descended this day from your own presence as the gift of life. It is possible for you to contact that presence. It is possible for you to contact that perfection. It is possible for you to be fit into the eternal temple and to keep the flame of your divinity blazing, not only now, but ever hereafter. And for this reason I say to you, as you hold this seemingly inert temple of life, which is your own being foursquare, within the power of your own hands, know that at one given moment in this service we shall light it with the great cosmic flame. And then as that cosmic flame blazes in tremendous whiteness and radiance, it shall come to pass that all of you shall offer to your own God presence this white stone that is your own true reality, containing your name, symbolizing your service to life forever. And you shall offer it to your presence, knowing that only your presence has the perfect key that will enable you to work out your perfection. And therefore, as you return it to your presence, all splendid and shining with a holy radiance, you will always remember that you have held this divine treasure right within the force field of your own physical hands, and also that it has passed through the hands of your holy mental body, of your holy Christ self, and is retained for you within the heart of your great God presence, within the very central flame of God's own heart. Now, precious ones, the moment draweth close when the angels of initiation shall draw very near. Therefore, I shall ask that music be played, first in a soft manner, and then coming to a higher point of crescendo, where the radiance can blaze forth and awareness can dawn upon your blessed consciousness this day. You have journeyed here in contemplation of greater light, and you shall receive that light. But the degree that shall manifest shall be determined by determinative factors in your own being and world. All are not the same, and yet we have given to all the same cosmic cube. All are not the same, for all have not cognized the use of that which is within their hands. And yet the possibility of equality lies as a gift in the hand of all. As men bear this responsibility and knowledge well, they shall no longer blame another for their own shortcomings or failures, neither shall they blame themselves, but they shall say to their own God presence, I am ready. In all of the ages that have passed, when failures have plagued me, generated by my own lack of understanding, I know that thou wert there and that thou have guided me unto the present hour. Therefore I stand waiting my own cosmic initiation. I desire a place in thy great sheepfold. I would be a stone in the temple, pure and holy and immortal. I offer myself and all that I am to thee. Take me and use me, assimilate me and direct me. And observe, dear hearts, how that the cosmic response will generate in your minds a new law acting, a law that will fulfill your design with the speed of light, the speed of lightning, and the power of the angels. This will happen if you expect it. This will happen if you direct it, knowing that it is your presence that will act through you to bring about the manifestation you crave and desire and want so very badly. Oh, precious ones, go forward in the light. Hold thy cube now more closely and draw thy hands together until it is as though thou canst feel this cube and the pressure thereof, restraining thy hands until it is as though thou couldst not place them together, for this cube is the tangible light substance that is within them, and around this cube thy hands may feel the pressure of that immortal life which is the glory of the saints of all ages and the power of the eternal principle made manifest. Glow, radiant cube of light, with immortal substance white, let thy brilliance flash in fire, and let thy love all hearts inspire, for victory's presence here is manifest, and God himself is blessed. O holy cubes, blazing white, be offered now to God's pure light. Lift thy hands, O blessed ones, toward the sun of thy presence. O angelic host, take up these cubes of light, glowing with all the light of the firmament. O mighty God presence, thou I am of all, by thy light and love we call, for the virtue of the light and the power of God's might to manifest in human night, and see that all things are made right. 'Tis God's delight, O blessed ones, that firms the resolution strong and arms the heart to distinguish right from wrong, and offer in the name of God so fair the love and light of a maiden's prayer. A beauteous soul of joy comes down, descending then to wear his crown, and all men everywhere rejoice, for light and power in God's voice shall blaze forth from the mighty sun, the cosmic being, God's Holy One. And all men are the fullness then of that great flame a-blazing there, the answer to the maiden's prayer, the cosmic mother whose love shines round and fills the circuit with the sound of heavenly rejoicing and the chord that is the fullness of the Lord. May the great Sun Prince Michael, Lord of the archangels, sever from thee, blessed ones, forever all that is not of the light of God. May the great Sun Prince Michael be thy special guardian forever. May the great Sun Prince Michael protect every keeper of the flame. O Archangel Michael, take command of these blessed ones. Give them thy love, and may they give thee their love. By fire and sword, I guess we're being tried here. If you keep the flame, you won't have to worry. We will use the other device. We put all the candles out before with this, but today the Lord wants to show you that if you really want to keep the flame, you can. I bow to the will of heaven and say amen. blessings of Lord Maitreya by direct contact. We therefore ask that a chain of hands be formed, uniting the energy of my twin flame and myself with the great radiance of Lord Maitreya, and pouring forth this love to all of you. Let there be an unbroken cosmic circle. As the falling of the electrical fires of heaven passes through the air, quivering with the divine radiance, I am come to say, Hail to thee, O children of the earth! Hail to thee, thou blessed ones, destined to receive the magnificent gifts of heaven. Thou art greatly beloved as the Son Jesus of old, and even as the Son Adam, epitomizing the first evolutions and life waves that went forth from the immortal temple of light and descended into form and void and substance in order to manifest the beauty and the purity of the divine design and the fulfillment of the dream of the ageless mind of God. I am this day in exaltation descending into the force field and matrix prepared for the coming of the angelic host. As an archangel, I bear the responsibility for many, and so today, as I am come to you to minister to the needs of your own souls, it is my God determination to let the atmosphere quiver with the healing light of God, the blue radiance combined with the green radiance, the pure central white fire radiance, all combined to form a triad of healing significance. Precious ones, the white fire core is then surrounded in this case by a mighty tangible blue sheath of light, and the blue sheath denotes the will of God, which is the manifest perfection for all mankind. The mighty sheath of green, vibrating and quivering around all, is the substance of the healing qualification for the earth and for the evolutions thereof. Remember, precious ones, the command has gone forth that the Lord shall heal all their diseases and wipe away all tears from human eyes. The capacity to heal is certainly within the divine province. Did not the Father, in his immaculate concept, first breathe forth into the substance the perfect design? And fearfully and wonderfully did he not create that form that you now wear? Then I am certain that the Lord who is in his holy temple is able to keep the gate of that temple inviolate and without destruction. Precious ones, the mighty tide of cosmic light that flowed forth to beloved Mary is now flowing forth to the higher mental body and holy Christ selves of all of you. For I would not come to one and then bypass another. I therefore stand in the aura of all to minister in hope that a new star of brilliant understanding descend into your form and etheric being, that this crystalline star of understanding, radiating forth the brightest healing green light, would be a gift of an archangel to your higher mental body and holy Christ self, so that in moments of trial and need you might recognize that you are given by God the power to climb Jacob's ladder, as it were, the mighty lifeline of your presence, and rising up within the flame within your own heart, pass up through your own head and exit at the trap door located at the very top of your head, passing out and climbing up in octaves of light through this mighty ladder of life that is your lifeline to your divine presence, and finding anchored in your higher mental body this brilliant star which is now reposing in the firmament of your being as a focus of healing love. This bestowal is a gift for your entire lifetime and will remain with you unto the close of this embodiment or your ascension. You will be able then, as you master the method whereby you may consciously exit from the body and pass up this mighty tide of electronic light into your higher mental body and holy Christ self, to tap the great resources of the healing light and draw forth a more than ordinary measure of assistance, which you may then direct into your own physical body and mind, or to another, according as the case may be, and extend the bounties of heaven to others as a boon given to you from the heart of an archangel, and in memory of the healing mission of beloved Jesus to the entire planet. While I am on the subject of his mission, let me say to all of you with the deepest devotion of my soul and being, that Jesus, in the fullness of his light and sense of mission, would have gladly healed all of the ills of the world, so that nowhere upon the planetary body would there exist a single being in discomfort. Yet surely you must realize the significance of the fact that he did not, and see in this that there must be practiced a necessary form of discrimination. One of the great requisites of healing, blessed ones, is for the individual who is to receive the healing to make the necessary call for themselves, which compels the answer from the octaves of light. An intense action then does come forth when an individual will faithfully make the call for their own healing. Witness then blind Bartimaeus and others who made their calls to Jesus, saying, "O Jesus of Nazareth, heal me." In answer to their request, the Master was able to establish a focus and contact with our octave, and the mighty currents of the green healing light flowed forth to make them whole. But I call to your attention that the central focus of the green healing ray is the pure white fire core, which is able to touch the responsive chord within every life stream who may be vibrating on a different ray than the green ray. And therefore all of every ray are entitled to receive the fullness of the pure healing power from the mighty cosmic fount, which descends into the force field of mankind's being in order to bring about the perfection which already was and will remain forever inviolate in the octaves of light. Bear in mind, precious ones, that when matter and substance becomes distorted through disease and the wrong use of energy, that wrong pattern then outpicturing will endure so long as there is energy to sustain it. But when the energy is cut off by the direct command of the higher mental body, speaking to the physical form and saying, "Stop that action," that it comes to pass that there is a dissolving action whereby the wrong thought patterns are dissolved, and there is reestablished a contact with the Immaculate Conception, the original divine design, the glorious, radiant, pure perfection of the archetypal perfection which abides within the higher mental body and the mighty I Am presence of all. Man must understand then the fullness of this great light, which is told to you this morning from the lips of an archangel, and in commemoration of the mighty focus of light that is anchored within your own force field and higher mental body. For each of you are given by God this direct contact, and none of you need feel alone or bereft of the grace of God. For all of you have the power, if you will take it, and the scepter of authority and dominion in your own world, to say unto your own mighty I Am presence, "Beloved God presence of me, take command of my four lower bodies and of my being and world, create and sustain in me a perfect picture of the divine design so wonderfully and fearfully created. See that this action of thy divine eye picture of my being is established in the force field of my whole being, and maketh me whole both now and forever. See that this mighty focus is expanded without limit, establishing forever the patterns of the divine design in the temple immaculate which I am. Conceive in me anew a clean heart, and wrought in me the fullness of a right mind in action, which shall remove all distortions in my flesh form and mental body, bringing about and establishing the wondrous purity of God as it descends, bearing the great power of the bells of freedom which shall ring then in my soul, saying, I spell an end to the death knell of human creation, which would give power to disease and the wrong use of substance and light's energy, and I call forth and I invoke and I am the fullness of the infinite Emmanuel, God with me and within me, God established there, God in all his purity, God that is the man-child, that taketh dominion here and now in my being and world, and is the fullness of my immortal perfection, conferring upon me the eternal vestments of God, which shall be without end, in accordance with the jewel-like perfect design, the holy symmetry of the ageless perfection of my being. All this I am, all this I ever shall be, and all this shall manifest in all and be all. For God alone is in his holy temple, and all of the world and its discordant voices shall keep silent before the perfection of my being, until the dominion of God is given to the whole earth. The earth which I am is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. The earthen vessel which I am shall now become the refined gold of the Holy Spirit. The radiant power of that Spirit shall stream forth from my heart's light and kindle around me the aura of the Infinite One, until circling me now is the angelic power of light, and the magnetization of light, and the magnification of light, and the extenuation of light, and the attenuation of light over the entire planetary body. And therefore there is conferred upon all the power of the archangels and the healing angels, whereby the healing arts of the world shall be embellished with new and added impetus to bring to mankind many cures for diseases which have not formerly manifested, and enable the entire planetary body and the nursing profession to receive a specific quality of Mother Mary anchored within the force field of their being, so that their hands become the healing hands of the cosmic Mother, that their hearts become the cherished heart of the cosmic Mother, and the force field of light which is above is extended to the earth beneath, and the earth shall unite, even the waters thereof, including the emotional body, with a mighty tangible light that is above. And it shall come to pass that the sun radiance of God shall make the reflection of the waters one brilliant diamond of infinite archangelic splendor, which is the perfection of God, which I am establishing here in God's holy name this moment, and I declare it shall never pass away or fail. I have anchored this in Mother Mary's name, and sustain it forever by the great power of the Holy Spirit and the fiat of light given to the hand of an archangel from the very heart of God. Ladies and gentlemen, in the holy name of Christ, I salute you. In his name I confer upon you his radiance. In his name I say, let there be peace, and let error and confusion cease to be. All is light, and all shall remain light. All is God, and all shall remain God. For the Lord God beheld the creation which he had made, and behold, it was very good. I thank you and bid you good afternoon.
perfection in creation God hath made. Means love to good and God us with sound. He's more of the elements and nature too. The modes of gold may ruin him away. Make straight a way that leads to harmony. Expand the consciousness of God. Expand the threefold flame of life in every heart. And holy cosmic gardens weave of mighty light rays from the looms of heaven. Away, 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 O sons of mankind. In nature shines the light that is in thee. All mountains sing, all hillsides ring, all nature sings with sons of light. O God, how beautiful thou art, thy feet upon the mountains. O Holy Spirit of the dawn, burst forth with light in every soul.
Devas of the silent hills arise, and flood forth the power immortal, releasing unto the earth the electrifying, vivifying, wondrous element of God's own love, flowing across the hills of the world and bringing to the spirits of nature the assurance that shall spell an end to all human discord, to disease, to thorn, to decay, and to the stumbling upon the mountain. Consecrate ye then the mankind of earth to the way of the silent ones, those whose hearts in silent communion behold in the quietness of their being the infinite reality of God, that comprehending a portion of the eternal mystery, yearn to know the fullness of the divine revealment, calling forth then an increased cup of consciousness, one whose capacity to receive is enlarged as the borders of God's kingdom reach out to encompass all that is afar off and all that is nigh. Tabor, blessed mountain, O place where the feet of Christ were gently pressed, feel now the radiance of our fire. Be blessed with cosmic treasures without end, the purifying radiance that cleanses from the elements all vestiges of human decay, the mold and the cynicism of mortal consciousness, and restoreth the old boundaries of the Lord, which declare he has measured the earth and stretched forth the heavens, and knoweth the extent of infinity. Precious ones, consecrated now to the unfolding light, I come to you tonight to speak to you primarily of the silent ones, those souls that have withdrawn apart at various times in their lives to commune in the quiet places of the world with the power that was derived from their eternal source. The world is enriched by countless numbers of these blessed souls. I could name quite a few for you. In fact, I could name them all. But it is not thought wise by the council that I this night should direct specifics to you, for our interest is in sustaining your interest until by proximity to the great cosmic light you will recognize your own role in the cosmic drama, and by recognition will cherish the ideals which your God presence holds for you as your manifest contribution to the cosmic Christ accomplishment of the present age. You are here. You are in embodiment as Jesus was. You are made of the self-same immortal fire substance as he manifested, and which composed his body of light, shining radiantly behind the physical appearance form. You have the mighty power of the angels resting upon you in accordance with your invocation. Some of you are blessed yet with the power of the angelic host that was called forth for you by your own mothers, when yet you lay but an infant in your bed. Others of you have called forth for others in supplication, and by reason of your calls made in supplication for others, the great cosmic law has attached any number of angel presences to your own world to sustain you in your divine mission. By recognizing your divine mission, you will be enabled to fulfill it so much more rapidly. Goal-fittedness, as El Morya has so often told you, is a wonderful capacity whereby an individual, recognizing no longer mere human objectives, fits themselves into the framework of the grand cosmic design, and in the sense of cosmic purity and holiness, separate themselves unto God as a chosen people. And this, precious ones of the light, denotes that you have chosen voluntarily to serve the great light, and in no way refers to a fact that you were compelled to serve the light. Although it is a fact that some individuals have entered upon a spiritual path as a result of the compulsion of one or more individuals who have constantly and consistently prayed for them until they themselves, by reason of the removal of the cobwebs of human consciousness from their mind, were able to perceive the great divine vision more clearly, and in that perception of cosmic wonder desired for themselves, because of proximity to God's ideals, to separate themselves from the mundane and seek to find in the spiritual realms
the soul-satisfying power that originally conceived them in cosmic purity. As I come to you tonight, there is a mounting crescendo of cosmic light that is sweeping around the planetary body. This light is garnered from the thousands of hills that surround the earth, for I am Tabor of the mountains, and the gods of the mountains have desired to assist me then from the silent places of the earth, desiring to create a force field of renewed cosmic action which will bring about the renaissance of all that is of pure spiritual golden substance, the substance of the golden age, the substance of which dreams of the golden age are made, the cherished hopes of millions of life streams who have desired to see the world a place of beauty and virtue, the hopes of millions of mothers' hearts who in the first moment of beholding their firstborn child desired, above all desiring, to see the world a better place for the fulfillment of that child's life, and also a better place for all children to be born, to mature, and to expand the great God qualities of their being without the hampering and distress generated by human discord, released in a torrent of insipid and degrading activities which are not the creation of the great light or the intent of God, who has fostered in man all that is holy, all that is pure, all that is radiant, all that is of good report, and all that shall remain and abide forever. While I am speaking to you, it has been decided by the great councils of our brotherhood to reveal to you a hitherto unknown incident in the life of beloved Jesus in commemoration of his march to Golgotha. You will recall, precious ones of the light, that as the Master walked along the way bearing his cross upon his shoulders, that at one particular point he stumbled and fell, so that his cross was passed to Simon of Cyrene, who carried this cross. May I then call to your attention, beloved ones, the thoughts that passed through his consciousness and the very factors that governed his fall. Surely you must realize that in a sense, as the God of the entire earth, it was unnecessary for him, being of some stature, to fall beneath the weight of the cross, which was then placed upon the shoulders of a man of smaller stature and less vitality, who bore it very well. Let me then call to your attention the exact thoughts and ideas that were formulated in his mind and heart at the moment of this fall. Precious ones, you will recall that he spake unto Peter, saying, Verily I say unto thee, ere the cock shall crow thrice, you shall deny me twice. You will also recall the sorrow of the Master in the dipping of the sop and giving it unto Iscariot. You will also recall the fact that many of the apostles themselves were men who under fire did not stand up with the courage that might have been expected of them because of their proximity to the Master presence of life. Well, let me tell you then the thoughts that were passing through the Master's mind. He was, during that moment and the moments preceding it, contemplating with some stress and strain the problems of the disciples and what would transpire in their consciousness after his passing and during the time preceding his resurrection from the dead. And therefore his consciousness was straining in holy prayer with God interceding for his own apostles during the hours of trial, and it was the direct result of his intense love and devotion poured out to God for and on behalf of the disciples in selfless and adoring service which caused him to falter and stumble. For he was making deep intercession for them, which required the inmost energy of his being poured out to God in holy offering, and for this reason he stumbled through no result of human frailty or weakness, for he was indeed the master presence of life, carrying upon his shoulders not only the wooden framework of that cross, but carrying upon his shoulders the responsibility for fostering the culture of the world for 2,000 years in the Christ consciousness. During that period he also knew that the world should pass through a baptism of intense persecution, as occurred during the era when many of the first Christians were martyred. Some of you in this room were then tossed to the lions, and in your finer etheric bodies have yet the hideous horror of that experience. Although it was removed in a sense from your memory, it was nevertheless a somewhat frightening experience, but one from which you flinch not. I say this to you to show you the very depth of the etheric scars that mankind may carry for many embodiments, that you may realize that by calling to God this night before you pass on sleep, the last vestige of those scars may be removed this night, and you will never again suffer as a result of that occasion. I call to your attention that this could not be done for many reasons hitherto, but is being done this night as a cosmic offering to your precious life streams which were martyred in the holy cause. Precious ones, while I am making these revelations to you concerning mankind, and some of you who are here in this room, and concerning the precious master presence of Jesus, I desire you to realize that the angels of the resurrection are actually offering the Holy Communion to your holy Christ selves at inner levels, in so much so that the cup is being passed to you during this address, and you are therefore commemorating once again at inner levels, as you did in the outer last night, a feast unto God in remembrance of the Christ presence of life. Beloved ones, upon this holy and auspicious occasion, as the angels of heaven are rejoicing in his precious victory, a priceless achievement on behalf of mankind, I would call to your attention the dissension that plagued the early Christian church, the divisions that have occurred since, the tremendous activity of the brothers of the shadow, how they have sought to divide mankind from one another and to intercede a wedge between human hearts, so that brother has been afflicted with enmity against brother, and hatred has ran rampant throughout the world, causing mankind to almost be as rabid as a mad dog against one another without cause and without justification. All of this action has been for one sole purpose: to discredit the Christ mission and to abort the divine design. But it has not been successful, regardless of the fact that some have been turned away from the great light and have passed through a series of embodiments that otherwise would not have been necessary. For they shall all come in the fullness of time to their own Christ victory, obtaining redemption in accordance with the divine plan. Be of good cheer then, blessed ones. It is the I am presence of each of you that shall give you your victory. And you stand this night so much closer than you ever have in all history to that glorious achievement, that it does not behoove you to feel any sorrow concerning the past. Nevertheless, I choose to cite these instances for and on behalf of the great and holy cause, that those who read this message in print, through meditation upon it, may recognize that the turmoil that has occupied the minds of men in connection with Christian rituals and the dispensation and administration of God's kingdom has been a cause of defeat, which has prevented the great incoming of the divine radiance from asserting its power and dominion over the world. I would call to your attention the founding fathers of this great nation, America, and point out to you how that they came to this nation bearing their Puritan concepts in order to worship God according to the dictates of their own holy conscience. Therefore, remember, precious ones, that every juvenile delinquent child, so called today in America, who is not able to fend for themselves against the inroads of the world that seeks to sweep them off their feet and place them in a dizzying and mad pace, pursuing ephemeral goals without purpose, is wholly unmindful of the great cosmic origin of this great nation, presided over by beloved Saint Germain, who as Christopher Columbus discovered this great land, who as Francis Bacon did set forth in his Novum Organum and other spiritual works a tremendous radiance and grand design for and on behalf of freedom, who did much later appear in Independence Hall in Philadelphia and did cause to be cried out these words, "Sign that document," unto those there assembled who were at that moment debating and standing upon the fence as to whether or not they ought to throw off the yoke of tyranny and oppression from England. But because of the fervor and the radiance of Saint Germain, sign that document became a fiat which entered into their very hearts and did establish here upon these great shores the tremendous radiance that is indeed Columbia, the gem of the ocean. The stars and stripes forever then shine above this great nation and are the radiant outpicturing not only of the blood of free men, but of those who have desired to be free. Mankind today, wholly unmindful of the struggle and sacrifice of their forefathers, are wholly oblivious at times in their round of pleasure-seeking of the tremendous sacrifices that were made for the establishment of freedom's bastions upon these shores. They are also wholly unmindful of the great future destiny of America in accordance with the great cosmic design thereof. And they do not realize that that great being upon whose crown blazes the word Union is now descending this night into the very heart of the nation's capital, bearing a tremendous radiance, bearing in his hand a wonderful bundle of golden arrows. These golden arrows are spiritual light substance, and these golden arrows are destined to pierce the beasts that have desired to make plunder of America and bring about the destructive activity which is intended to take America into the camp of communism and the destructive materialistic activities which are indeed as a result of man's greed and competition. Know then, therefore, that effective this night, these golden arrows shall be released and driven forth with tremendous power by this mighty angel into the beasts of materiality, the beasts of greed, the money beast, the sex beast, the dope beast, and all of the other beasts which have captivated the human consciousness and made slaves of mankind. An activity of great light, then, is being established here this night in commemoration of the very body and sacrifice of the ascended Master Jesus. Know then that before you there is the radiant Corpus Christi, the living body of Christ, the substance of God's holy offering, consecrated as Isaac of old upon the altar of God. And yet the voice of God, speaking as of old to Abraham, crieth forth, saying, Abraham, Abraham. And suddenly Abraham is appraised of the fact that there in the thicket there is caught the ram as the sacrifice to be placed upon the altar. And I ask you, precious ones, what is the ram but the animal form signifying that the sacrifice that mankind must make is the sacrifice of the bestiality of their own nature, rather than the sacrifice of that magnificent and wholly consecrated ascended Master Jesus, or any other living flesh and blood sacrifice. For the eternal law then speaks, bringing victory over all the decadent civilizations of the past, brought about as the result of the wrong use of the holy priesthood, which degenerated then into a form of priestcraft, captivating the minds and hearts of the peoples, and causing the holy vessels to be captivated and carried away into captivity. Know then that the Lord has in his hand this night a great ruler, a great yardstick of cosmic dimensions, and he is measuring the cosmic temple and establishing for a time and a half a time, the holy ordinances that shall make of this wonderful nation the ascended Master nation, to bring to the nations of the world the cup of freedom in which all may bathe. And yet there is here no idea of supremacy, no idea to exalt America over the other nations of the world in the sense of rule, but rather in the sense of cosmic example. I appeal, therefore, in the name of the entire cosmic brotherhood of the Great White Brotherhood, that all of you recognize the intense devotion of the ascended Masters poured out all over the earth this night to bathe the earth in the regeneration of the Christ consciousness, calling to all who will to sacrifice the bestiality of the human carnal nature, the mortality of life, and to cast the crowning radiance of their golden Christ mind down before the presence of immortal life, and say unto that presence, I am here. I am here. I am here. Father, I have returned to thy house. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Father, not my will be done, but thine. Father, take thy dominion. Father, I ask that thou give me all of these that have been with me. Father, I ask that none of them shall be lost. Father, I ask thy eternal arms, strong to save, to make of this great nation a chosen people, that shall pour their devotion out to Saint Germain without thought of the cost, but shall offer themselves and all that they are in the full confidence of the faith as the patriarchs of old, knowing that they ought not to count the cost, but the reward that can be brought to mankind and to their own divine presence, to honor God by the highest form of flattery, the imitation of his precepts, and the imitation of his grand design. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please be seated? The silent flame of God, blazing over the thousands of hills of the world, pour it forth this night in commemoration of the significant victory of Jesus 2,000 years ago, the power of the angelic host that will not permit mankind to trample upon cosmic virtue. And therefore I say, let all who hear beware. Those who shall in this day speak against our holy messengers, and shall direct their vicious energies against them, seeking to take their life, let them beware lest they themselves be cast down into the very sides of the bottomless pit of destruction, and be brought to naught with that old deceiver and serpent who has attempted to mislead them. Know then that we esteem every son of heaven to be pure, and we therefore desire that no one shall cast aspersions against another. Who made thee a ruler and judge over other men's hearts? To his own master he stands or falls. And I say then this holy night, let not the spirit that deceived and brought destruction to Iscariot abide in your heart, but let there abide in your heart that spirit of divine virtue which cannot betray the Master Christ presence of yourself. All of you are called this night before the bar of the gods of the mountains, extended into the high places of the earth, and holding at the summit of achievement the radiance of Christ's victory for you all, the immaculate God design that desires to expand the angelic offering and the mighty tides of infinite compassion, so that the hearts of men in grief throughout the planetary body will have that grief assuaged by the power of light called into action this night. There are many who desire to have the tears wiped away from their eyes, tears flowing forth as a result of a long sense of struggle, a sense of frustration concerning themselves. Dear hearts, we are aware of the pity that you feel for a human soul caught in a maelstrom of destruction. We are aware of the great pity you feel for an individual who does not see the great law clearly. Do you know, precious ones, that countless dedicated individuals throughout the long history of mankind have actually pointed their finger scornfully at cosmic beings, at mighty souls that were serving the light, and in pointing their finger of scorn at that individual, they have attracted to themselves such a tremendous action of karma as they could never imagine in their outer consciousness. For, beloved ones, there is a great law acting here. The more dedicated a soul is to God, the more holy their consecration, the more frightful the karma of the individual when it is directed against such a one. For any action performed against any individual upon earth has its karmic responsibility. But those who are responsible for the taking of the life of Christ, and those who are responsible for the taking of divine virtue from anyone, are indeed accountable in a more than ordinary manner. I do not say this to generate fear in your world, but as a solemn warning to those individuals who might in a weak moment permit human doubt and fear to rush in and thus further frustrate the long-delayed manifestation of the kingdom of God upon earth. Do you think, beloved ones, when you consider and ponder the immense sacrifices that have been made by individuals consecrated to the great light, dating back even long before the prophet Samuel, that you in this day and age are making a more than ordinary sacrifice by your offering of decrees and services to the great light? I think, in honesty of heart, your blessed hearts must admit that this is not so. For you know, precious ones, that that which you are offering is a wonderful gift to the ascended masters, but it must be expanded, and it must be expanded soon. The great councils of the brotherhood are mindful of the sacrifices you have already made. They are mindful also of the tenderness of your hearts and your consecration to El Moria and to beloved Sanat Kumara, to Lord Gautama, the Lord of the world, and to Chananda of the great Indian Council. They are mindful of your consecration to beloved K17 in the Cosmic Secret Service, They are mindful of all of the devotion that you have manifested in the silent recesses of your heart. And yet tonight they would perform for you a more than ordinary service on behalf of the great light. I am speaking to you in a prolonged manner tonight in order to anchor in the force field of this place the full significance of the mighty golden arrows which were released for the protection of America and for the furthering of the cause of freedom. Therefore, I trust that this night those of you who might be inclined to fatigue will throw off even the slightest vestige of it and trace of it from your consciousness, and will not interfere in any manner with the continual manifestation of my words and consciousness as they stream forth to you, imbued with the infinite power of God from on high, in order to resurrect in you all the divine ideals and wonderful consecrated power which God intends to bestow upon you, not only in the coming ages, but tonight and every day from this day forward, in an ever-increasing tempo of momentum, so that the onrush of the kingdom of God may be given the impetus of your blessed souls for so long a period as you shall occupy space upon this planet in the physical forms which you now wear. It is our hope that all of you will make your ascension at the close of this embodiment, but I cannot deceive you or delude you with any form of false hopes. Therefore I must say unto you that this will be dependent directly upon your own consecration to divine ideals. No man can serve two masters, for either he will love the one and hate the other, and it cannot be otherwise. Therefore I say to you, those of you who would be assured of your ascension at the close of this embodiment must cleave to your great cosmic Christ presence and your mighty I Am God Self. And this is the hope not only of the world, but of your own life. It is the hope of your cosmic mother and the hope of your cosmic father. Remember, precious ones, that the self-same ideals which Mother Mary held in consecrated purity within the very chalice of her heart for her Son, beloved Jesus, is the same consecrated ideal which God has held for every one of you. And I ask you then this night, in the name of cosmic mercy, that all of you shall take renewed confidence from my statement and shall begin to recognize that this is holy truth. For in the recognition of this truth is the very key to your ascension, because you have thought of yourself as a mortal in dense form, one subject to all ills of the flesh and all that to which the heirs of the flesh are apparently subject. You have therefore manifestly expressed those negative qualities at times which are contrary to your own divine God presence. Therefore tonight it is meet, according to the great cosmic law, that the power of the night diminish, and it is necessary that the power of the moon in baneful influence wane. We are now during the period of the fullness of the moon, calling to your attention that the astral influences must wane, and the Christ radiance, this fullness of the moon, must be established, so that the sun presence of man in the secret place of the Most High may burst forth its bonds, setting the captive free. At the place of light, the solar plexus, the very center of your being, there is released then the power of the sun. Know then that beneath your feet is the moon, and upon your head is placed the crown of stars, the symbols of your victory, which you shall ultimately manifest. However, you must understand, precious ones, that when God bestows a gift to you, it is not always lowered completely into the human dimension and octave, but it is given to you in your finer bodies, released there as a cherished treasure. The more you love this treasure, the more you draw it down through the substance of your worlds until it penetrates the very fullness of your being, ultimately and finally reaching your physical form, where, by correct use, you are able to establish within yourself the power that shall enable you, as Jacob of old, when his head was pillowed upon a stone, to behold as in a dream the great cosmic ladder leading up to heaven, and climb that cosmic ladder in the fullness of the Christ radiance, obtaining your victory and power of victory in this very age which you live. Recall then, speaking of Jacob, the fact that he wrestled all night with the angel. I assure you, precious ones, that I shall not wrestle with your souls all of this night, for I shall ultimately take my leave of you and withdraw the radiance which I have placed around you, not because I desire to remove that precious treasure from you, but because it is an intense action of great cosmic light. And were it to be sustained indefinitely without cosmic merit, it would actually bring about an action that would not be constructive. Therefore, I shall leave it here exactly the proscribed time that shall create the most constructive aspects for your life stream, and then withdraw it at the precise cosmic moment when the great law commands. Therefore, precious ones of the light, those who are with me, the gods of the mountains, desire to expand in your consciousness a new sense of the lonely ones. Come apart. Come out from among them and be a separate people, saith the Lord thy God. So long as you are of the world, you cannot be of the immortal kingdom. Ultimately, one by one, they shall all step forth and be counted in the ranks of God. Now, as the lonely ones, one by one, in your various communities, not desiring to be thought wise of men, but seeking an eternal city of God, as Augustine, the saint of old, you shall pursue your divine destiny. I call to your attention now some of the episodes of cosmic valor that have occurred in the past ages, when saints were able to carve out in their loneliness their mighty attunement with their great divine presence. Do you know, precious ones, that in their loneliness some of these great saints went out into the deserts and mountains to pray? There, as they began to draw forth the great light of God, and the eternal radiance came down from the mountains, and we sought to surround their being with the infinite power of the light, it came to pass that all of the negative and baneful influences of the world, the shrieking, howling fiends of human discord, drew forth around them, and the mockery and the scourgings of the wild voices that came to pass within their consciousness and the recesses thereof was enough to drive them to the brink of insanity. The tests and the trials, the awful and awesome weariness and wilderness wanderings of these precious individuals is almost an infamous set of circumstances. It is enough to make the heart of an angel presence weep. Do you know, precious ones, that in their loneliness some of these great saints went out into the deserts and mountains to pray? There, as they began to draw forth the great light of God, and the eternal radiance came down from the mountains, and we sought to surround their being with the infinite power of the light, it came to pass that all of the negative and baneful influences of the world, the shrieking, howling fiends of human discord, drew forth around them, and the mockery and the scourgings of the wild voices that came to pass within their consciousness and the recesses thereof was enough to drive them to the brink of insanity. The tests and the trials, the awful and awesome weariness and wilderness wanderings of these precious individuals is almost an infamous set of circumstances. It is enough to make the heart of an angel presence weep, and yet it resulted in their glorious liberation. It resulted in their glorious exaltation. For in their loneliness and consecration, in the barrenness and desolateness of the world wilderness, stripped and bereft of all mortal substance, they attuned with the heights of the starry radiance of their God self, and they came into attunement with their mighty and God-victorious angel presence, their own mighty I Am presence, and the cosmic beings and the ascended host. Drawing forth a mighty thread of cosmic light from the looms of heaven, they began to spin and to weave around themselves a cosmic garment of great light. And it came to pass that the radiance of heaven came forth from them and caused them to be a power in the wilderness, as the voice of one crying in the wilderness, saying, "Make ye straight the way of the Lord. Make straight the way that leadeth to his kingdom." This is a way of holiness and a way of righteousness. It is a way of exhortation to call mankind to come out from among them. It is not a way of commingling with the multitude that goeth to dust, to ashes, to ruin. It is the way that leadeth to purity, to the celestial city, to the tabernacle of God, to the foursquare radiance, to the mighty thrones of authority and principality and power and glory, the power to reach forth at an instant and to touch the forehead of a child passed from life and say, "Talitha cumi," arise, I say unto thee, come forth from the grave. The power to cry unto Lazarus and say, "Lazarus, come forth!" And he that was dead came forth and stood among them. This is the power that must be externalized today. It is more powerful today than it was in that day, for it is sustained by the mighty radiance of all of the saints who down through the ages have poured the consecrated oil of their energies in the service of the great cosmic light, keeping the flame of God brightly burning and trimming their lamps, waiting for the cry, "Behold, the bridegroom cometh, arrayed in fine garments and white linen, clean and pure. His name is Lord of lords and King of kings. He hath his vesture dipped in blood, and upon him is written a new name which no man knoweth. He cometh forth riding upon a white horse." This signifieth the purity and the radiance of the Christ that must trample upon the kingdoms of this world in order to bring in the kingdom of God. What is this? Babylon is fallen, that mighty city, the city based upon the power of merchandise, that would make merchandise of the souls of men, and the victory of our God has descended upon the 1,000 hills. O silent radiance, drawn forth and magnetized from the hearts of the saints of all ages, kindle in these people the power of the immaculate vision of the celestial octaves of God's own mind. Generate in these hearts the fervor of the divine presence and the love of the divine presence for the creation which he hath made. Generate and sustain in these people that flame of fire, that coal supernal, that cosmic elegance that embellishes all things that it touches with the light of the eternal morning, and endows the hearts of men with the power of overcoming victory. Now then, the night must end. The night must vanish. The dawn, with all of its significance and radiance, must pour forth the resurrection victory for the planet. It is not enough for one to be raised, but all must come into the blinding purity of the holy light of the Holy of Holies dispersed this night over the 1,000 hills of heaven. I, Tabor, bless thee. Will you enfold now with your hands in this manner the radiance that is the light of your world? Will you bear the cross of cosmic virtue before men, that I am able to confess your testimony before your presence? Are ye able to drink of the cup which God has offered? I thank you and bid you good evening.